All
Yeah, I
right.
can, I can,
Can
bro.
you give me a rundown to what the anime was like for you, right? And then I need you
Okay.
to compare it to King's Game, so the previous anime that we reviewed, right? So you just give me like a rundown to like what you like, what you didn't like in comparison to King's Game,
Yeah.
and then we'll just take it from there.
All right. So, first of all, I would say Friends Game was a little bit better than King's Game in terms of the quality. Um, I would say the production quality. And I'm not sure if you remember, because last time I was on and off, but I mentioned when we spoke about King's Game that because I watched it in subbed and I also watched it. I tried to watch it in dubbed, but I mainly watched it in dubbed. So it was kind of like a bit difficult to follow it so much because in dub it kind of seemed slow the way the characters were speaking and communicating compared to like when it's like in Japanese, so it's a bit quicker and it moves better. And also like the translations as well were a bit different, whereas with because like they would like put something on the screen, that's in Japanese, and then you can't be able to translate it. But like, of course, in Friends Game, it's automatically when it's in dubbed, it's easy to understand. Like it gets translated immediately, So that was just the challenge. But I mean, that's just technical issues. But besides that, regarding the animes, like I said, production wise, Friends Game was better. I feel like there was more. It just felt more interesting as well, personally. And I'm not sure if you remember as well, before in part one, I also did mention that Friends Game actually reminds me more of Squid Game because when we discussed King's Game before, and Joel mentioned that it also meant, well, I'm sure all three of you probably also like saw a bit of a similarity to Squid Game, but I saw more of a
Yeah.
similarity to Squid Game when it comes to Friends Game with the technicalities, with the dolls. I mean, there was that one doll, with two people, because there were those two girls that were actually watching from like those cameras. It gives you the same perception as Squid Game had. But Squid Game had like one specific guy with the mask on that was watching the game. So yeah, I feel like there was a direct correlation to Squid Game with this, and I don't know if we should break down with the characters. Maybe I shouldn't go too deep, pause. But like, I feel like the main character was a little bit focused on too much, or I feel like he was just giving way too much main character energy. And I feel like they could have given more time on the other characters. So like, yeah. But besides that, I think it was a pretty good. It
Wait,
was a
so
pretty
that's
good
cool.
anime. Pretty okay.
So you talking about? So you saying
Yeah.
the main character
Oh no,
was
actually
giving
no.
too
Hold
much
on. I'm actually
main
confusing this
character
with King's
energy
Game.
in
King's
Friends Game,
Game.
or in Friends Game?
Nah, nah, actually, I'm confusing this for King's Game. King's Game actually was kind of giving more main character. My bad, my bad, my bad. First game,
Ah,
because
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because King's Game actually was. I wouldn't lie to you, it was kind of ass. But like, yeah, Friends Game was a bit better for me. I'm not sure if I, gave you a nice breakdown of what I think, but yeah.
No, that yeah, no, that works. That works because I asked you in comparison to King's Game. Here's the question: did you catch the
Yeah.
concept initially, the when you first started to watch Friends Game, right? Like so, basically the first
Mm.
game, right, where they play
Yeah.
the coin.
Yeah.
They'll ask you like they'll ask them a question, and then everybody has to basically answer the same way. Did you catch the concept right away? And
So it was that was game two, right? The one where they were moving a coin to both sides. They had asked a question and they had to move a
No,
coin.
that was
The whole
game
team.
one.
That was game one, no? Oh, okay, game
yeah,
one.
for game two, right? So game two, because game one you said that you didn't get it. You didn't like game one because you didn't understand you didn't see that part, right? I don't think you paid attention to the fine print where they asked them to answer the opposite way. So I don't think because you didn't pay attention to that point, I don't think you really appreciated game one because game one was very good. It was very well thought out.
Yeah.
But it's fine. So game two, What stood out to you? What
Look,
did you
look, I
like? What
also
did you not like? Did you like the concept?
yeah. So look for
Yep.
game one. So when you mention that, I understand what I understand from what you're saying, because but I guess what I liked from game one is how because at some point, from what I remember, there was something that Shihu did. Like Shihu was gonna get no, it was a Shihu because Yuichi like ended up or I wouldn't say crashing out, but it ended up like becoming like weird at some point, to do something. You can still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Yuichi did something, like he ended up becoming weird in order to, I guess, save Shiho or to manipulate something. Which I kind of think was trying to make them do the opposite or say the opposite with the coin. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. So Chris, you asked me a question about game 2, right?
Yeah.
Alright. I'm not sure if you heard me when I... Oh, can you hear me now? Or can you see me now, but you hear me now?
Yeah.
So as for game 2, I actually like game 2 I think the most, because I feel like that was the point where things got more interesting, and we started to see like that's where we like started to see, well actually we started to see that I think in game 1 towards the end, but that's where we saw Tenji's true character and how he truly is, and how he truly feels about Shiho, because in the beginning, well I think that was in game 1, well I think they mentioned in game 2 where at some point someone exposed, I think Tenji exposed the fact that he was dating Shiho, and then that's when towards the end of game 2, that's when we saw like Tenji actually is the traitor, and that Tenji actually really likes or is obsessed with Shiho. So that's where I saw that things started to get kind of really interesting for the show, and that's why I like game 2 the most. But that was crazy, like game 2, bro, with those secrets that were being exposed, that was crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like,
alright, I told Kelvin, right, the previous stream, I told him that I felt like I was when I started to watch episode 7, which is where game 3 starts, right? So from episode 7 to 12, I felt like I was watching a different anime. Like the vibe changed. I felt it was more bright and colorful. I don't know if that makes sense, but like it still had like a dark kind of like vibe to it. But I just felt like the vibe kind of like changed a little bit, because I remember when I was watching game 2, so around episode 4 to 5, even 6, I couldn't remember what game 3 was. Although I had finished already the anime, but I couldn't, because I watched it like years ago. So when game 2 ended, I was like, okay, cool. I kind of look forward to see how this goes, because I completely forgot. So when episode 7 started, I was like, oh shit, I thought this part of the anime, I thought that was a different anime. In my head, I remembered it, but I remembered it as a different anime, right? And then Kelvin told me why I thought about it in that kind of way, and it made sense. But I kind of want to take your take on it. For me, they actually changed the vibe, right? But it doesn't mean that they changed it for the worse. It's just that they just changed the vibe, right? They removed three of the main characters, and then they brought 3 different people.
This show also reminded me of, I don't know if you guys also feel the same way, but it also I don't know if you guys know this other horror movie called, it's a horror franchise. It's called Saw. it kind of reminded me a little bit about that. I'm not gonna lie. With the doll asking questions and stuff, and then having to be in rooms, it kind of reminded me a little bit about that. So, as Christus mentioned, focusing on the five characters and like the vibe switching up on the different characters, it kind of actually it makes sense for them to focus only on those five characters because, for example, in Saw, you also get like certain characters, and then each character kind of like, I think like in Saw, I think Saw 3 or 4, I think there's one where like I think there's like 3 or 4 people that are in a room or 2 people in a room, and the whole movie is focused around those people and what they're gonna do to survive to get out there. So I think like you are onto something, Chris, when you say like them bringing new people kind of like changes the vibe a bit because it could have gone darker if they focused on all those characters. But yeah, like thinking about Saw, it kind of reminds you about that, and it could have been a little bit better if they did focus on those characters and how they could have, just like made it more interesting. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no. The thing is, yeah, I get what you say. I haven't watched it all, but I get what you say. I would say that they had something good going, and then they tweaked it mid season, and I'm sure if they were to do a season 2, they would probably bring up those stories again. But yeah, I feel like at that point, kind of like things kind of like changed. Like, cause now when I think about it, I'm like, oh, they could have gone a different routes with it, and grab people's attention more. But even the way they did it was good though, cause I was very very like entertained. Still, so. Angel, did you hear my question?
I did on the part like after game 2 that seemed a bit different, and I think how I felt about it if I noticed it. I did notice it, definitely, but I don't think it really affected
I think Andrea's mic is off.
the show for me. Oh,
No,
you can hear me.
Oh,
Now go ahead, bro.
So I'm saying it didn't really affect anything for me. I mean, I did notice the difference, but I felt like the focus of this whole thing was on the main character, Yuichi, right? If I'm pronouncing it well, but he's the main focus. Everything you can see, the whole story and things were revolving around him and how he was navigating all this dynamic between his friends, and is he gonna choose money over friendship? And I think some parts will sometimes doubt his intention. Does he really mean good? Is he really good, or is he about money? So I think they did maintain that aspect well, even in scenarios where where he was hanging out with those guys, and the whole time Tenji thought he abandoned him. Meanwhile, he was doing whatever was necessary to win that game with his friend. And even the part where after that he was kind of mean to the girl, telling her she shouldn't join them, she's useless, something like that. So I think overall they did well to preserve the main character, even though it felt a bit different.